Bhadram karnebhi shrnuyama devaha Bhadram pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi tushtuvagam sastanubhihi Yashema devahitam yadayuhu Svastina indro vrdhashravaha Svastina pusha vishwavedaha Svastina starkshyo arishtanemihi Svastino brahaspatir dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The teacher Angiras has started to show the student Shaunaka various means how to understand this knowledge, knowing which everything at once becomes known. And we have gone through what we call anvaya vyatireka, which is what is it that is negatable and what is it that stays. And we have done an analysis, a beginner analysis. Call it beginner or advanced, but it's an analysis that shows us that the I am survives through when the body is not present. So what we want to do is recognize there is one invariable presence through and through all of our various experiences. And then they transitioned into saying that this very I am, which is of the nature of consciousness, it is the very cause of this universe. And now the topic slightly changes. So we've been getting personal with this I am, but now it wants to make it more bigger. It wants to show, what about the rest of the universe? And to do that, he first, Angiras, the teacher, introduces 3 similes in verse 7. And so he starts by saying that something that you can relate with, like a spider, and the spider is unique in the sense that it is both the material cause and the intelligent or the efficient cause of its very creation. So it weaves its web, from itself and also intelligently puts it together. But also it can withdraw that same web into itself. And so it wants to show that if Brahman is truly pervasive, it has to be both the material and the efficient cause. You cannot have a material cause over here and then someone else or some other entity is the efficient cause. They have to be one, otherwise it is not sarvagatam, it is not all pervasive. So in this way, we then start to question and say, but wait, the spider has a selfish motive for building its web. It actually has a desire to build a web. So does this mean that Brahman has a desire to build this world? And the answer is no. And this is now shown in the next example. But also the limitation of the spider was that the spider only weaves one type of creation, very bland, and it's a web, but it's only a web. And also the spider can walk away from its creation. So now you're saying, does Brahman, kind of reside over there and he just leaves the world here? So now we have to negate all these objections using the next example, which is of the earth. When plants grow from the earth, the plants of different colors and different fragrances and different vitamins and different nutrients and different, all sorts of varieties of species of plants and groups of plants, astronomical amount of, nutrients and varieties in different kinds of plants. And all of them come from the earth. And while they are abiding in earth, they're not ever separate from the earth. And so you start to see, wow, so you can have one earth, and from this one earth, one globe, you can have varieties of different colors come out. And so this opens up your possibilities further. So maybe you can have from this one cause, Brahman, you can have variety come to express, and then you enjoy the variety, you use the variety, you smell the variety. In fact, all variety of herbs and foods comes from the earth alone. So in that same way, it wants to show you that Brahman, being the cause, and all of the other effects, the effects are never separate from the cause, even though the effects are different or seemingly different from the cause. That is the intention of showing that example. But then another objection comes and it says, well, then what about insentient material? Then we say, well, we can use another example of your hair and nails. Your hair and nails just effortlessly grows out of a conscious being. So in a similar manner, the world effortlessly, this creation effortlessly arises out of Brahman. It's not like Brahman has a motive, like a spider. Let me design this creation so that I can make jivas suffer, ha ha ha. And they have to come back to me and find their way, ha ha ha. Right? This is what we project. This is our idea, that we're being punished and we somehow forgot and we now have to come back to our original nature, that there was some, beautiful bliss at once time, and then we got naughty and then we ate the apple and then you have to now return back through a long journey. So this is brilliant analogies for a certain level of a mind, but this is giving it time. So now if we say that it all started once upon a time, then you say then what was before time itself? So thus you say, no, Brahman is the cause of the universe, and it from its essence, by its nature, world effortlessly arises. So if you ask the question now, why do we have a universe? It's like asking, hey, Earth, why do you grow plants? What's the earth going to say? Oh, I don't know. It's my nature to do so. Just by my mere existence, plants grow. Once upon a time, we had nothing but rocks here, lava flowing, molten lava. And then somehow, nature finds its way, greenery finds its way. Do I have to explain how exactly that happened? I don't have to explain, but I can observe. In that same manner, by the mere presence of consciousness, its nature is the world arises, the world of forms arises out of it. And once it does, it manifests planets, time and space, and populates it with thinking beings who then can ask, what and who am I, and what is the nature of this universe? And then they can inquire and go back to the source. Not that they were ever apart from it, but I can know the source to be not apart from the effect. And so then the next example was used of a dream, which puts all these examples together. And like a dream, you, the one who is in bed, chilling out, resting, unaffected by the stuff of the dream. You don't take on a mountain. You don't become the mountain in the bed. You don't become the, here we go, murderer, in the dream. You don't, the police doesn't knock on your door next morning and say, hey, you've committed a crime. Or you go to the police and you say, hey, in the waking state, I've committed a crime. Okay, what crime did you commit? I've committed it in my dream. Well, sorry, buddy, that was in your dream. We're here in the waking state. There's no connection between the two. So in that same manner, whatever happens in this world, it doesn't touch you, the awareful being, the awareful conscious being. And so the dream wants to show you that this world arises from Brahman, just like in a dream, effortlessly. Do you have any motive for the dream to manifest every night? Do you even choose? Suppose you go to bed and you say, tonight I'm going to dream about Hawaii. I'm going to be on a cruise ship. Is that going to happen? Right? So you can say that all you want. Maybe it's possible. Who knows? Maybe you just repeat it on and on. But the idea is that You don't choose. It's just a theme of creation arises. And that theme of creation gets populated by your knowledge about what you know. That is just knowledge of one entity. Now, if you convert that to the knowledge of the total entity, you have this dream, including characters who themselves can dream. Whereas in your dream, you just have also a dream power, a projecting power. But that projecting power is not so powerful. It can create a dream, right? Sometimes real, sometimes not so real. But it can't create other characters who are dreaming. By the way, did you ever dream and you woke up from a dream and you were still in the dream? You had that? I think I had that a month ago. It's like, I woke up, but something's wrong. Did I really wake up? And then I realized I was still in the dream. So we can kind of make some, great dreams, but it's a great analogy to show you that Brahman has no personal motive to manifest this universe. So again, the question, why do we have this universe? Exactly. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. If it wasn't, you could say then, why isn't it some other way? So the question of why will never end. So there's a great relief when you can just accept this is how it is. This is the nature of consciousness. It manifests the universe and it makes you, the one being, appear like one person sitting in a chair now. And they say, this is me. Okay? So there's a great kind of just relaxing, hey, I don't have to fix creation. It is not my creation. It never will be my creation. It is just a creation that is going on. And I just have to do my part, discover my truth. That's all I need to do in creation. That's it. If it's so simple, why didn't we do it for so many lifetimes? If it's so simple. Well, I think we can observe why. You go out, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about this or talk about soccer? Talk about World Cup, talk about the latest politics. So there's a great entertainment to talking about apara vidya. When it comes to para vidya, it needs a very qualified, ready mind, which is why we've always had these circles. The Rishi Guru Shishya Parampara was always a small place. It was always a place where you're connected to yourself enough to seek more, to want more. And so you're ready. Okay? So the dream example brings it all together. Now, then I asked the question yesterday, what is the purpose of these examples? And the purpose is threefold. It is first that, like you in the bed, the one from whom the dream arises, of a variety of both sentient and insentient beings, you being both the material and the efficient cause, who remains completely unaffected, you simply populate the dream with yourself. Your presence populates the dream. We could say that. Your presence populates the dream. Do you get affected about the dream stuff? No. In that same way, Brahman remains changeless, doesn't undergo any change while the changing universe is going on. It also wants to show that the knowing this substance, material cause that inheres and populates the dream, at once you come to know everything. So you can see how this answers Shaunaka's question. Okay? And it also wants to show that the world, though appearing different, it all resolves into one same being. Just like the dream, though appearing different, it resolves into one same dreamer. Okay? So this is the intention. And now the next example also wants to say, what about potential? Where does potential for tomorrow come from? And it also wants to answer, how do you justify that you can have Brahman, which is unchanging, and yet you have a changing world? How can a changing world come from a changeless presence? There's a contradiction. So we have to resolve that. And this will be in verse 8. Tapasa chiyate brahma tataha anam abhijayate. Anat pranaha manaha satyam lokaha karmasu cha amritam. Okay, so this is you could call this a creation model. So the creation model wants to show you, if you ask the question, how did this universe come? And the problem with asking how did the universe come is, what are you implying? Yeah, that it was not there once upon a time. So you can see the limit of language. But I'm going to say how did the universe come, just for the sake of having a starting point for the mind. But when I say how did it come, don't think that it came, it was always going on. Okay, so this is the difference between thinking linear, that means it started over here, right? It started there. Now what about before, everything before? So no, we understand that it's, and one example is you can put a circle, right? So it was always going on, always going on, always going on. It never stops. Okay, so it's you can call it a circular, not that it's circular, but it's a circular model of creation. It never started. There was no, now it all begins. So in other words, there was never a time when you were not. You were always here. And you don't remember it, but there was always some form of you here. And so we now want to come out of this creation. We have to understand that I'm the very cause of creation. So if you understand you're one of the effects, then you remain one of these little smiley faces spinning around constantly, because you are as good as you see yourself that, but you're actually the cause of the whole thing. Okay. So it starts out by saying tapasa chiyate brahma. So Brahman bulges, in other words, readies itself, bulges through knowledge. Okay. Now this is an excellent poetry. It's a way to communicate creation. Okay. Suppose you are a singer or an artist. Which one do you want? Singer or an artist? Singer, okay. And you've been going for many days without any inspiration. Okay, just you're a normal person, relaxing, eating dinner and having a time, but there's no inspiration. And then one moment, one day, suddenly, out of nowhere, and you see the whole world of notes in front of you. What happened? You bulge, because you realize, wow. In that moment, you realize your potential. You're filled with joy because you realize the incredible potential of this music, how beautiful it is. It just comes out of nowhere. You are now bulged. You are filled with infinite joy, recognizing your infinite potential. Wow. And what happens when you say wow? It says next, it says from that Brahman, the unmanifest, or Anna, is born. Tataha anam abhijayate. Now that you can't hold yourself back, because this inspiration of the song came, you can't hold yourself back. What happens? Is there any selfish motive to sell your vision? You can't hold yourself back. What do? You have to. Your nature is to express it outwards. But before it's expressed outwards, it's in your potential. So now it comes joy, potential. In this moment, it is anam. Why is it called anam, which means food? Because you recognize, wow, all of this is to be consumed. It's funny how they call potential for the world. They call that anam, food. Why food? Because it will be consumed very soon by beings. And this is what we're doing all on earth. And so it's now, this song, you didn't know you had this potential. Now you know this potential is here. You have bulged with joy, seeing the incredible complexity and the finesse and the sophistication of this song, of the world of notes. And you can't hold yourself back. It has to come out. And so the world then comes out slowly, not yet. Now, I want to pause here for a moment. And there's another model that we use at this point. Mundaka Upanishad uses a slightly different model than you may have heard. And it's lovely. So I want to just intercept here with another kind of model that we use in Vedanta. And we say that consciousness, this very presence that we're speaking of, has a potential to manifest the universe. Just like you, the dreamer, have a potential for the dream world. Okay, and that dream world you are going to populate, you're the material and the efficient cause. Now, that dream world, that means in you there's a potential. What kind of potential? If you look at the dream world is going to be very sophisticated. It's going to have laws and orders and color, and everything's going to be connected. So this means that your knowledge in reference to the dream has to be there in the first place. It has to be knowledge in potential. Otherwise, you can't have a dream. If the dream is in effect, it has to come from an intelligent cause. So the dream will be very well organized, and there will be gravity and laws and people and principles of sitting down and eating and swallowing the food and relaxing and fatigue and energy. All these things will come out in the dream. So this means the potential has to be of knowledge and power. Why power? Because that knowledge has to be put together into a form. And it has to be sustained for a moment, and then it has to also be changed into something else. So this means if you think about your dream, what is your dream made of? What do you think? Interesting question. What's your dream made of? What are all those colors and movements made of? Memories, okay. Intelligence. Okay, but suppose I say now memory. What's your memory made of? Thoughts. Yeah, what's your thoughts made of? What's your thoughts? Like what is it? Let's put consciousness just for a moment aside. How do you define thought? Like what is a thought? What's it made of?
Energy. So things you saw with your senses? Some scars.
Yeah, but I'm like, what is some scar? Like if I say just imagine an elephant. Okay, I'm imagining an elephant. What is that? What is it of? What am I seeing? Yeah, energy, this or that, 5 elements. Like, what do I give it? But I know it's there. That's the point.
Form, name?
It's definitely a form. There is a form, but what's form made of, right? And now we give it a name, distinguish it from another form. So if you look at your dream stuff, it's solid. Like I can't go through the wall. But a dream is nothing but your memories, samskaras, impressions, energy, intelligence. You could say it's nothing but really just what you know. Nothing but your knowledge about the world, knowledge about the people that you've met in the waking state. That is what makes up concrete walls and faces and tears in the dream. Nothing but memories and impressions makes up the dream. So something non-tangible creates tangibility. Non-concrete. Yeah, not hard. Something, right, like intelligence. So something Reinbein. Something non-tangible right, manifests tangibility. Okay? So in other words, intelligence, your intelligence about the world manifests concrete walls. So now, if you apply this metaphor and say this capacity in consciousness in that same way has the ability to manifest the universe. What kind of ability is it? What is it of this potential? It is of knowledge and of power. So knowledge and power manifests the world. Now you say, but how do I demonstrate that? Because you're just saying that. Well, you can just infer based on the fact that everything in the universe is connected to another thing. Nothing is sort of just, relaxing. Even the so-called bad bacteria or good bacteria in your stomach are doing a fascinating job of breaking down the food. And even, look at this, even bad bacteria, germs, do you think it's purposeless? What do? They train your immune system to strengthen itself. So even germs, in that aspect, have a purpose in the universe to train how to be a stronger, your nervous system to strengthen itself. Nothing is out of place. You look at nature out there, everything is dependent on us. Our waste of carbon dioxide is energy and food for these green creatures outside. Okay? And similarly, their oxygen is our dear food. Okay, so anything you see in this universe, like honeybees, they have something called the traveling salesman algorithm, and we only discovered this recently. So they go to a field of flowers, and they have to figure out, because the bee is very small, they have to figure out what's the closest path from me to that flower. And what about that section of flowers? What about that section of flowers? So now how is the bee going to figure out to save energy to go from here? What's the shortest path? What do? Well, one of them travels to one field of flowers, and then they come back and transfer that knowledge using some kind of communication to nearby bees. So the nearby bees will now avoid that, and they will make sure they go to the next set of flowers. They will bring information, repeat that, they will all communicate and say the closest path is that field. So we all now go towards that field of flowers. Your liver knows how to detoxify blood. It just knows. It has knowledge built in. Your cells are programmed to divide themselves 40 to 60 times. Why not 55 or 60 or 70? I don't know, but 40 to 60 times cell division comes to a stop. It's built in. The oceans are very smart. You throw rubbish in the oceans will throw that back at you. There's a certain intelligence there. You just have to wait it out. Okay? Or you can even have these little fiddler crabs, the little critters on the beach. They come out of their burrows on the sand. Yeah, well, when the ocean tides recede because of the pull of the moon, then the fiddler crabs will come out to mate, procreate, and feed. Now, if you take those fiddler crabs away from the shore, put them in a scientific lab, and they will do and repeat the exact same pattern because they're already in tune with the ocean tides. How do they know this? It's inbuilt intelligence. And then you have a sunflower, one of my favorite flowers because it's so happy, yellow and happy, sunflower. If you look at the seeds within the sunflower, how is it arranged? It's arranged in what we call a Fibonacci sequence. So well put together to maximize the amount of seeds in that circumference. This is works of nature. And then you have a little, take an octopus or a squid, and it has little pigments on its skin to be able to replicate the surface and the color and the texture of what it lands upon with less than 1 second. I put a squid on your shirt, I don't even see it anymore because it mimicked your shirt. So this is an amazing testimony of intelligence all throughout. So then when we say this potential is of the nature of knowledge and power, it means that the potential is constantly manifesting into intelligently put together, sustained together, and changed forms from one to the next to the next. And so you can start to appreciate, if the Creator knows about the sun relationship to the plants, plants to the rains, rains to the clouds, clouds to the plant nutrition, because not all nutrition is good for certain species. Maybe vitamin D is good, maybe vitamin C is good. One species eats a mushroom, they die. Another species eats that same mushroom, they thrive upon it. So if the Creator's knowledge has to connect the sun, the moon, the stars, the air, the plants, the photosynthesis, the digestion, the extraction of vitamins and nutrients, and then dispersing that throughout the digestive system, and pumping the heart enough to negate the effects of gravity, to pull the blood back up, and for your heart to automatically increase its heartbeat the more the altitude increases. That's built in. What does this mean then? What can you now tell about this intelligence? It has to know about everything. Because if everything is connected, then that which is all connected, there has to be one being which knows about everything. And that's why we call that one being, all knowledge, all power. Sarvajna, all knowledge, Sarva Shakti, all power. The ability to put it all together.
And the power is then the manifestation? I missed that. I understand the knowledge, why the power?
The power, good. So if you just have the knowledge, there has to be a power to take that knowledge and project it, and to change it, and to remove one form and put another form. There has to be a certain power to keep on moving it and molding it, to keep reshuffling that knowledge, to manifest as moving air and plants and everything. Okay. So stage one, we said, Brahman bulges through knowledge. And now there is this potential. So now everything is in potential. There's no world, no space, no time. Now stage two, it says, Anat, that means from unmanifest, pranaha. Now pranaha here, a better word, it says from unmanifest, that means from this anam, this food, from unmanifest comes prana. But a better word for prana is hiranyagarbha. Now, hiranyagarbha, I'll write it down. Hiranyagarbha. Okay. Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, in very simple English, you can understand as blueprint for creation. Just like if you have a blueprint for a house, we call that blueprint Hiranyagarbha. Simple. So now, from the unmanifest, what comes? Blueprint for creation. Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is born. And this Hiranyagarbha, in a more Vedantic language, we call it, you don't have to worry about this, we can also call it the cosmic sorrow body. But that's okay. That's a little bit, sometimes you find that. But I'll just call it blueprint for creation. Very simple. Okay? So now this Hiranyagarbha, it possesses 3 powers. Okay, so you already know the powers that I said, right? All knowledge and power. Okay. But let's get more specific. So this Hiranyagarbha has Jnana Shakti, which just means, as I said, knowledge, right? All knowledge. It has Ichcha Shakti. Now, how much knowledge do you have? And I have. Teeny weeny, right? But Hiranyagarbha is all knowledge. Okay. Ichcha Shakti, which is power of desire. Okay. Suppose you and I are doing something in our life, and we get, it says power to desire, power of desire. How much power to desire? Infinite power. How much desire do you have and I have? You know, when we come to a certain point and say, I'm bored, I've gone through this, I don't have the desire for it anymore. So in other words, our desire ends. Whereas Hiranyagarbha's desire never ends. It always wants to create more, 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 more. There's no ending to it. You can say whatever you want to it. It keeps on desiring infinitely. Desiring what? For more creation, more color, more jivas. They never stop. The population increase. And this is just the human beings. More insects, please. More tigers, more wolves, more dinosaurs. And there's just one planet. We'll talk about planets soon enough. We're not at planets. There's no physical creation yet. Okay? This is all in thought form. So remember, when you bulge, okay, in that split second, there's this potential. But immediately you start to see before you put it out into the world. What do you see in your mind? You visualize it. You visualize it, and then you put it out. So it's in visualized form. You can say blueprint visualized form. Visualized form. What's before visualized form? Potential. Potential, which we call anam, food. Okay. Power to desire. All right. And so Jnana Shakti, Ichcha Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. As I said, Kriya Shakti is the ability to put it all together, to sustain it, and to change it, to shape and mold it. If I just see, right now, you and I can have a blueprint of the house. So we have Jnana Shakti, yeah? Suppose we know how to make a house. And we just go like this. You got to move, right? You got a desire to build a house. So my knowledge is not enough. I got to say, okay, I want to take this desire and just, okay, I want to build a house. But I still don't have Kriya Shakti. I still have to move. Okay, I really want to build a house. Come on, Kriya Shakti. Now I move. So in that same way, you need all three powers. How much? Infinite power to manifest the universe. Kriya Shakti, power to put together, power to sustain that which is being put together, and power to transform it. We usually say to destroy it, but I'll just say to transform it. Okay. So it has infinite power, where you and I have teeny weeny power, which is okay.
Where does Vaishvarana comes in?
Sorry?
Where does Vaishvarana comes in?
Who? Ishvara.
The Vishwa, because here in your
Stop, different model. You see, this is how the Upanishads work. We don't use Ishvara here at all. It wants to show you something very important. We tend to get stuck on these models because we keep on hearing them. So the Upanishads have a different model to snap you out so you don't keep on thinking the same method. So this is a totally different model, equally valid as the model you've been hearing about. Okay, that's the point. Because I know what it's going to do. Oh, I want to go back to the model I've been hearing from before. Nah. Otherwise, it's all, it's going to be repetitive on and on and on. So you're hearing a different model. And that's exactly what we want, to snap you out of what you've already heard. Yeah. Okay? Now, it's also important to know that do you, the person in the bed, suppose that's Mr. Consciousness, you can call yourself, do you change while the dream is going on? No. But the dream is going on. So what is changing? You're not changing. What is changing? The dream, your power, you could say, your mind, right? Your mind is changing. So your power to manifest, your power to project is changing. So in that same way, Brahman, don't think Brahman is changing, but Brahman's capacity to manifest, that is changing. Just like your capacity to change the dream world into a million different forms, that keeps on shaping and shifting constantly, but you are relaxing. It has nothing to do with you. You're just supplying your existence to your power to keep on projecting and to keep on changing and sustaining. That's all your job is.
But is it really the capacity that is changing, or the content of what is in the dream that is changing?
Yes, okay. You could say for now, I want to stay, because I have to be systematic. For now, I want to say it is the capacity specifically that is changing. Now, look at this. I can equally say that actually it is the content that's changing, but not actually changing, apparently changing. For example, the gold doesn't actually change. It's always gold, no matter, it's like this, gold, 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 gold. But I don't want to get there yet. I have to first tell you about the capacity is changing.
And how does the capacity relate to the intelligent cause?
The question is, how does the capacity to manifest relate to the intelligent cause? The answer is the capacity is the intelligent cause.
Then, okay, I'll just listen to you, because it's hard in my brain to see that it's changing, that the intelligent cause is changing.
Okay. See, this capacity we call pravaha nityatvam. Pravaha. You don't have to worry about this. Pravaha nityatvam. Nityatvam. Okay. Suppose you have, what this means, it's changing, but it's eternally changing and shaping itself. But it always remains intelligence. You see that? It's always intelligence, intelligence, intelligence. So it's just reshaping and remolding intelligence. But it always remains intelligence. So in that sense, the capacity is changing. Okay? How is that from 1 to 10 in understanding for you?
Good question. Like almost 7.
Okay, okay. Okay, let's start from the beginning. And I'm going to just keep it.
For now it's okay. But yeah.
Okay.
I can go on without this.
Yeah, you keep on talking, I'm going to do this. Okay, let's start with potential. So what's before potential? We say consciousness. Consciousness, okay, has the power, the potential. Now, what's the nature of that potential? Knowledge and power. Knowledge and power. So that's in potential. That's it. It has nothing, there's no physical forms yet, nothing has come. But it has to be knowledge and power, because as I used an example, everything is just interconnected. And if it's interconnected, it has to be what kind of knowledge? All knowledge power. Okay. 7? 7.5? Okay, improvements, no problem. Okay. So again, what changes in your dream? The dream is changing. What changes in your dream? You're not changing, the one who's supplying the dream content, the dream stuff. You're not changing. What's changing in the dream? The story, the life script is changing. We could say your mind is changing. Now, just for a moment, think of that mind as knowledge and power. Simple. Knowledge and power is mind. So knowledge and power, mind is shaping and shifting. Now, where is that same mind in deep sleep? It's not there. But what's still there? that into which the mind has resolved. And then again, now, where's that mind? Potential. Because what's going to happen in a few minutes? That potential is going to create another dream world. And the mind is going to gain shape and mold. And in the dream, when you look at anything, you say, person is. That means person exists. Person, okay? Person, you know what I mean by this is? Person exists. You know, is, phone, whatever, right? Is. Person is. You look at the person, you break that down into a hand. Hand is. Hand is. You break the hand down. What happens now? You got, what, blood. You take just one. Blood is. You break down blood. What do you got? Cell. Cell is. Break down cell. We'll say DNA. DNA is. DNA, you break that down, that's 4 molecules. You take one of those 4 molecules, you put atom is. Okay? Atom is. So whatever, or tree is, it doesn't matter. So whatever you see in the dream enjoys what? Is. Exists, 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 exists. What is supplying this isness? You are. Your presence is supplying the isness. What is changing the names and forms? Your capacity, your potential, which is of the nature of knowledge and power. So in that same way, when you observe this world, you always recognize it enjoys an isness. Anything enjoys an isness to it. Emotion is. Concern is. Doubt is. You can't say anything unless it enjoys existence. So that existence is what we call consciousness. That is how consciousness manifests in forms. Cloud is. Light is. So in other words, whenever I say is, what am I saying? Material cause is supplying, thus I can call it light. Material cause is supplying, thus I can call it tree.
Can one say that it changes, it seems like it changes when this type is exhausted, then it starts to change. Like like human is, and then it's exhausted, this human, and it changes into something else.
Absolutely.
Everything has a limit of existence.
Okay, but if it changes, whatever it changes into, is still enjoy that next thing is.
It becomes something new is.
Yeah, exactly, something. And even if it goes nothing, nothing is. So even nothingness depends on existence. Which is why we said initially, Brahman is not shunya, emptiness. It is the presence in whom even emptiness arises and resolves, or is known. Okay, so what stage are we in now? We are in stage 3. So stage 1? Stage 2? Projection. Stage 2? No, there was a word, prana, hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, stage 2. What is hiranyagarbha? Blueprint, super, blueprint for creation. Okay. So the next is stage 3. Now the gross universe comes. Pranat, so from this prana, from hiranyagarbha, pranat manaha satyam lokaha. Satyam here doesn't mean truth, it means 5 elements. So from hiranyagarbha arises the mind. That means capacity to see, to hear, to think, intellect, capacity to memorize, to recall. The world arises. Okay, I'm going to take this off. So stage 1, Bauges, and there's a potential. Now there's a potential. Stage 2, this potential. From this potential comes Hiranyagarbha. From potential comes Hiranyagarbha, which is, would you say, blueprint? Okay, so it's in thought form. It's in thought form here. And then stage 3, now comes the gross universe. From it comes the mind, comes the 5 elements, and comes the world. The worlds arise. Worlds, loka. Arise. The worlds arise. Okay. So at this point, what happens? We have in the Vedic system, 14 worlds come out, but it's actually infinite worlds. So this is just one world that we're experiencing. How many worlds are there? According to the Vedas, there's infinite worlds. It's the vastness of creation. And we're here like going, oh, we're the center, we're so special. Small, teeny weeny. So it makes you, think about the vastness of creation. So arises the 14 lokas. This is what we call the bhuloka. Arises swarga, heaven. Arises naraka, lower worlds. Now, lower worlds, how? You can look at that in 2 ways. There's actually a lower place that you manifest, a different parallel universe. We can call that loka, where you don't have so much privilege. You don't have so much privileges here. So things are much harder. But in the Vedas, we don't look at Naraka as an eternal place of damnation, not at all. We just look at it as purification. Antahkarana shuddhi. Purifying your mind, learning your lessons so that you can come out and come back to the world. So it's actually a place to purify. The world is not good enough to purify the desires, so there's a different world for you. Now, this is quite fascinating. In the Vedas, they even have this model. What's it called? I think it's called 12 gatas, 12 paths that the person goes to after death. And this is extraordinary. I would love to do a talk on it, but it's going to take over, 40 minutes. And there's different places and what happens after death, 12 possible paths that a person takes. So what we hear about, sometimes, the subtle body gets doesn't know where to go. That's one possibility. The subtle body can also, your mind, when I say subtle body, your mind, your thoughts, goes to a different loka where your deity resides. So if you believe in Jesus, you will go to that loka. If you believe in Vishnu, you will go to that loka. So this is very fascinating talk. And then he also talks about, what about those beings like Yogananda who come, they do their work and they leave. It's like very strict, like I come, I spread, and I leave. Also talks about that. So, and it explains a lot about, who is enlightened? Like, who are these beings? These beings that just come. Are they actually enlightened? Are they just here to talk about their practice and then leave? Who are they? And what happens after? Fascinating stuff. I heard that in Chinmaya, I went to. There was a Swami, they were doing a course. I was like, wow, this is so much more intense than I thought. It's not just die, go. Go where? Different places, different lokas, which are now all set up for the being to reside. So the complexity is amazing. All we hear about near death, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. So look, this part you can believe, don't believe, that's up to you. I'm just sharing what I can't prove myself. Okay, so now you got lokas, and now that creation has come, this which was in thought form becomes observable to the eyes, hearable through the ears. Now you go, world, because the beings have come, devas have come. Devas are higher beings. We're not the only beings. They have more privileges. We don't. We're kind of like in between. We all come with punya, papam, mixture. So there's not one person that's pure on earth, not one. Everyone comes with 50% papam. It's actually different, but we'll say 50-50. And punyam. That's why nobody only has a good time on earth and nobody only has a bad time on earth. Why? Because you come with 50-50. Now devas, they're more like 100% or something, I don't know, we'll put it 90%. 90% punyam. Could be even 100%. Okay, so they have a different body and a different life. They live longer and so on. Why am I saying all this? To show you the vastness of all knowledge, all power. Maybe it's time to consider that there's so much more than we've been so used to. Looking at science, they're showing us the quantum world. Okay, we'll stop there. Maybe there's so much more than just that. Maybe it's okay to consider it at least. But even if you do what to do, you still have to move on, do your part. Okay, so now the creation has come and it manifests forms, that means forms made of 5 elements. And we give these forms names. Names. To distinguish them from another thing. So we hear A and then B. Okay. Now, next stage. And so, karmasu cha amritam. And due to actions. What's born? Human beings. Where are they here? Okay, somewhere. The 50-50 guys. So now they're born. What do? They perform action. Because you come now and you look at yourself and you start to say, hey, look, I have jnana shakti. I have power to think. I have power to desire. And I have power to do. That's what everyone comes in earth like. Let me exercise it. Because you got this power. And when you exercise this, what happens? You perform, the being performs actions, and therefore you start to accumulate punya papam. How to translate punya papam? Someone tell me. Good and bad results. Yeah. Merits, demerits, sins and virtues. Yeah. I'll just stick with punya papam. Okay? So, how does punya papa manifest in your life? As papa manifests as unpleasant experiences, punya presents as pleasant experiences. Okay? So, now that you do actions in this world that's been manifest, you accumulate, you do actions. Sometimes we make a mistake, so papam is mistakes. Mistakes or distortions. Distortions in thinking. And punyam will say clarity. Clarity, doing what is to be done. Okay? That's what defines your life. Sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we do what is to be done. We do the right thing. And every time we do, where do the results go? Where do the results get parked? Well, we put another name to that. We call that causal body. Causal body, or we could say your archive of goods and bads. Now, you've got this huge archive because creation never began, remember? This is not once upon a time. It was always going on. So how long were you doing actions for? Since no time. And every action accumulates punya and papam. Punya and papam gets parked in your causal body, and it gets expressed in your life as pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Pleasant and unpleasant. Which is why you can have kids who are born and they die prematurely. According to the Vedanta, there is a reason to that. The Western world doesn't have a way to explain that. Vedanta does. It says that the being, jiva, comes with a certain papam, and that papam comes out by giving you only a certain amount of time to live. or an extra chromosome or co-joined twins. So there's a reason, according to Vedanta, to explain that. And that reason is punya and papam. So there's no accidents in the creation of all knowledge and all power. Because according to all knowledge, it does not make mistakes, because it's all knowledge. It can't make a mistake. But we, because we're not all knowledge, we look at that and we attribute an error or a fault. And then we project it onto the Creator. Now, this is very hard for the mind to understand. Even a plane crash and one person survives. Oh, okay, so this must be some karmic account going on. Ultimately, you don't really know. What is it, karma? Is it first time? What? It's too complex. But just know this, there is a continuity. You get another chance. But to try to speculate and try to connect the dots, why did this happen? It's endless. We can't understand it. Our minds is too small because we're not all knowledge, all power. But what we do know for sure is this. You do something that is doing what is to be done. Apologize. I forgive you. I'm sorry. How does the other person respond? Much better than if you responded harshly. Cause and effect. And a cause and effect, who governs that? The Creator. So what do? We try to align to those rules of the game so that we can increase the chances of happiness in our favor. We just go, okay, how do I communicate in a way to get a pleasant response? Okay, so give them time to think. Give them time to rest for 25 minutes. Okay, Andre, I'm going to do that. Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.